Octopath Traveler 2, honestly, is probably one of the better RPGs that's been released in quite a while. The gameplay is really, really good. The music is phenomenal. And I would honestly say this is probably one of the better RPGs or jrpgs of this generation. So before I delve too deep into it, make sure you like, make sure you sub, the whole shebang. And if you don't want to miss anything that we drop here, hit the notification bell, because I know YouTube is a little weird in that even if you're subscribed, sometimes it won't tell you when we've dropped something. So hit the bell, that way you know. Without further ado, let's just get into the review. Now, the gameplay uses a turn-based system, but it uses it in a very unique way. During the battle, there's a lot going on. You'll see like little battle point meter up at the top right, as well, obviously your health and your magic points with each character. As you go, you'll see those battle points, unless you've used them, go up. You can use 3 battle points, so you can attack 4 times in one turn, or you can super overpower a single move, one of your special moves. This is probably one of the most interesting turn-based formulas that I've ever seen, at least that I've seen in a while. There's just a lot of planning, a lot of strategy that can go into the gameplay here. One thing that I have definitely learned is don't jump into any battle, at least the big battles, without some kind of strategy in place, or you're going to get wiped out. This isn't the kind of game that you can just spam attack and spam your special moves and just spray and pray. This is the kind of game that you kind of need to hunker down and think about what you're doing next. For bosses, I tend to kind of store up my battle points and then use them all at once, store them up again, use them all at once. That seems to work quite a bit, but I have lost a number of boss battles without being prepared, because one thing that really heavily comes into play are weaknesses. If you attack an enemy's weakness, which they'll have weakness to weapons, they'll have weakness to magic types, you'll see like a little meter that shows how many hits that they can take before their defenses are broken. If you break their defense, they're basically immobile for another turn. So you get not only heavier damage, but a free hit, basically. Well worth the planning. I've lost some boss battles because I did not walk in with a plan. I just winged it and then got clobbered. So go in with a plan, and if you lose, make sure you remember what the weaknesses were so you can go in the next time with a good strategy in mind. One thing you will definitely need to do is plan your party with some checks and balances. I always use, the heavy attacker, heavy defender, heavy magic user, and a buff and debuffer. So I can power up my characters and lower the attack or defense of the enemy characters, as well as a healer in some capacity. I always recommend having a healer because you're going to need a lot of health in this battle. So even if you need to store up items and stuff to have like a quote-unquote healer, or you just use one of the dedicated healers like Ophelia, who has very good healing stats, that's honestly probably your best idea. Sometimes it's best to have 2 healers, which in this game is a strong possibility, because not only do you get your base classes, which Ophelia being a cleric, she has a healing ability. You have Ulbric, who's definitely heavy attacker, but also very high in defense. You can access those same classes with other characters. As you go about the world, you'll find some little shrines that you can unlock those classes with and attach them to other characters. So characters can have 2 classes, which is incredibly helpful. One thing you'll also note in the world is you'll have class actions, which are distinguished per character. So Ulbric can challenge people to fights. Therion can pickpocket virtually anybody unless it says you can't do that. You can get information, allure people to follow you around, and even take them into battle with you. There's a lot of class actions, and each one has their use. And you'll find that as you actually find side quests, there's even more use to those class actions. Now, as far as the world goes, first off, beautifully rendered. I'm not usually one for like the pixel graphics, but the way the characters are modeled, they are gorgeous. And the world itself, with that HD 2D style, is absolutely gorgeous. It is semi-open, and what I mean by that is you go area to area, town to town. They're kind of self-encompassed areas, but you'll notice that as you go from area to area, there's sort of a recommended level as you enter a new area. That is incredibly helpful, so you don't walk into an area where, maybe you're level 20 to 25 and you're walking into an area with a recommended level of 48. That would be a very bad idea. So it's semi-open in that you can go there, but it's not exactly smart to do so. The environments are heavily varied. You're going to find deserts, you're going to find mountainous and rocky areas, you're going to find snowy areas. There's so much variety here as far as the world goes. It's kind of hard not to be not to be pleased with the aesthetics in and of itself. Now, we're going to go back into the story part of it. The story follows the tales of 8 different, I guess you can call them allies, 8 different companions. Though there's no real interaction between them, and I think that's where this game tends to fall quite a bit short, is that there's not that much interaction. There is some travel banter that you'll find sort of in between, you know, while you're in the middle of one of the character's story. He or she will have a banter with another character that has to do with that story, but it's very little, it's very light. And I wish there was a little more interaction between each of the characters. With that being said, the stories are very interesting, particularly Ulbrich and Tressa, and I really, really like Therion as well. However, there's not as much character development with Therion as there is with Ulbrich and Tressa. You'll find that there's so much going on with those two, where they're both kind of learning, kind of coming to terms, well, Ulbrich in particular, coming to terms with the world he was in before and having that stalwart, unwavering faith, and now he's finding out maybe there was some gray in this whole black and white situation. And Tressa just has sort of a growing up story, which I think is really cool. So there's some story to each character. The problem is there isn't any interlacing between the stories. So there's just not a lot going on as far as connection between the 8 stories, which draws back a little bit. Now, we talked about the aesthetics a little bit, but this game is just beautiful. The HD 2D, as I've said before, didn't really appeal to me at first, but this game is absolutely stunning. I think the world around the characters is what caught my eye in particular, and that kind of made me a little less hesitant towards delving into the HD 2D. And yeah, I don't regret it at all. It's gorgeous. The world is beautiful. The pixel art is absolutely breathtaking. The only issue that I found as far as like the world traversal goes is there's a lot of left to right. There's not very much back and forth. And what I mean by that is the way the areas are built. There's a lot of left to right. There's not a whole lot of front to back travel, which can get a little tedious at times. It definitely makes the world feel a little more long rather than three-dimensional. Now, as far as the music goes, Yasunori Nishiki is probably one of the best modern composers that I know of. Ophelia's theme and the Frostlands and Flame's Grace, which you'll notice there's a lot of winter going on with my favorite tracks. Those are some of the best tracks in the game.
Makes total sense.
But there's so many good tracks in this game. I really like Ulbricht's theme. I really like Honnet's theme. There's so many good tracks that to the point where I actually have the Octopath Traveler OST on my Spotify and just listen to it kind of when I need to wind down or when I need to calm down, or those relaxation moments. It's absolutely beautiful, fantastic music. Now, sort of my final thoughts of the whole thing. The turn-based gameplay really is one of the best that I know of. It's one that you need to kind of take your time to plan out. You need to be on your toes. This is not a game that you spray and pray. This is a game where you sit back, you take your time, you attack with strategy in mind. You also need to be considerate of where you're going, because you can wander into areas where you're going to be heavily overpowered and end up getting knocked out and having to go back to your most recent save, which is not the most fun thing ever. The variety of the environments is fantastic. The music is fantastic. Again, I just wish that the characters had a little more interactivity and the stories had a little more overlap. That would make this game probably the best turn-based game that I've ever played. All that said, I'm going to put my personal score up on the screen now, and there you go. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you hit that like. I hope you hit that sub. And if you want some more, make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't lose or miss anything. And leave a comment. I have my first comment response video coming up pretty soon, so gear up for that, and I'll see you then.